first, Billy. You are first. Hey, buddy. Welcome. Let's do some basic tool. Let's do some basic tool sharpening as I do at the beginning of every live stream. I kind of want to talk about the chainsaw a little bit tonight. I'm excited that this chainsaw seems to work, but I'm cautiously optimistic at the same time. But I'm going to keep my mouth shut for most of this. Chardonnay, welcome. Chardonnay, Chardonnay, ooh la la. Let's see what yeah, Billy is first. Billy is first. Welcome to Dad's Workshop. Thank you for being here. As we do every day here, we're going to polish and sharpen a few chisels to make sure that we have sharp tools. I did Chardonnay. I did. I actually gave you and whomever was the other person who was man, it's real sharp. Welcome to Dad's Workshop, where we have two new members. Let me shout out my new members. Daniel Gandara, shout out Daniel. And Chardonnay Boys, shout out Chardonnay, are two new members. We are going to start doing some members only live streams very shortly. I have no problem doing that. So subscribe and become a member. Always a good thing. Loxus, welcome. I encourage anyone to join the Discord so you can see the kind of amazing stuff that Loxus does, such as and including a device that feeds kittens. That was pretty interesting. Let me keep it on this 3,000 side for a minute here. Pelado. Welcome, Pelado. And last one with the 3,000. I think. Yeah, 3,000. Get my gum out so I don't chew in y'all's ear. A little bit of oil coagulation there. Let me dress the stone a little bit. It's just like coagulating in the stones. I'm not getting the grittiness out of the stone. Didn't really expect that from the grapeseed oil. It hasn't done that yet, but it may have been the heat. Heat's kind of messed with a lot of the stuff out here. Oh, these are wet stones. This is a 8,000 grit stone. So it's a polishing stone. The blades on these are pretty sharp. I really only need to do the 8,000. Yeah, if you just maintain it, you're usually pretty good with that. Wes, welcome. Wes does it. Shout out. Like that video you had, Wes, on the floor mat. I wish I kept this Wendy's floor mat that somebody gave me. It's like a non-slip floor mat they use at Wendy's. You know, this man is a hard worker, works lots of fast food. He takes a lot of stuff home. He gave me one of these. Left it in my classroom when I retired. Get the little burr off the bottom there. There we go. You are not, Wes, you are not a fake woodworker. I tried to comment on that video, it would not allow me to. I was very frustrated. Don't sell yourself short. You do very hard work, you know, and you work very well and you learn very fast too. This might need to see the grinder in a little bit. It's got a little bit of a imperfection on the blade. Really? That is true. That is true. Hey, man, I understand that. You know, woodworking is a lot like medicine, I think, or music, in that you can always learn new things. There's always someone better at it. You can always learn new things. And, there is some snobbery in every craft, I think. It's gatekeeping and snobbery, and something I never cared for. Because as a musician, I will tell you, if the music sounds good, I don't care who made it. I don't care what they look like or any of that. And I don't care what their level of experience is. Yes. Laxus is very good. He's on my Discord, got some pretty amazing, complicated stuff. Shout out to Chardonnay for handling the Discord. Yeah, I do too, Laxus. I agree. Laxus said I love pushing myself beyond the limits. I agree. I agree with that. Me too. I want to take me deeper is my philosophy. When I was in school, I went to a, you know, fairly prestigious school, at least it was viewed that way. And I knew one of the composition majors, an older guy, but that's kind of what it takes to be a composition major. Very talented composer and scorer of music. He told me he never likes to go to any kind of presentation and see a shallow level analysis of anything. Never entertains me. That's why there's YouTube, because we can always find somebody who's got, well, most of the time, if we haven't, they're out there, ready to start. Yeah, I agree. Shout out to Miss Heather, who's a little bit under the weather tonight, and I don't blame her because I wasn't feeling well myself. Still coming, recovering. Just got back from the urgent care, so not for sympathy, just to let y'all know why I've been a little bit late. We're just gonna keep going. I want to show you all this chainsaw though. I'm so psyched about it. So psyched about this chainsaw. It's a huge chainsaw, and I finally got, like, I had to mess with the dude who sold it to me. It's basically a dupe chainsaw of this 93cc one. I'll start it here on the live, but I'll probably wait till later in the live to do that. Thanks everybody for being here. Appreciate everyone here. I'm gonna lay out this dovetail on the other side of this board because that's what I'm working on, and that's what we do in Dad's workshop. It's the real process here. Working on a chainsaw video, side-by-side comparison of these two saws, but I'm not going to rush any of that kind of stuff out. Make sure I got this in the screen. Thank you, Billy. Chardonnay, if you know how to do this, drop a poll, a subscription poll in that chat. If you could for me. 2 7/8 inches is the width of the runners on the bed. 75-degree angles for the dovetails. I like to keep 2 protractors so I don't have to reset it every time. As I've told you before, say some of the same stuff, a little bit OCD. Taking it straight to the corner, from the corner, 75 degrees. reset the protractor. And you could make a template for this. I just do it with the protractor every time. I did it with a template early on and found that it was a little less accurate that way. As long as you're setting your angle the exact same way every time, making sure that your line is square with the bottom, you know, the square rule I was talking about. Yeah, yeah, I like two of everything. Like I like two chainsaws, definitely more than one chisel, but definitely two protractors because you got to do both sides, and unless you flip it over, and I've got one down here somewhere. This is hiding from me. Maybe in my big toolbox. It's okay. I'll reset the angle every time and talk about that, yap about that. All right, so let's flip this and get these shoulder lines here straight. Again, appreciate everyone being here and appreciate my two brand new members, Chardonnay and Daniel. I think Daniel's been a little busy recently. Shout out and love sent to all to Daniel. Chardonnay is here. Definitely appreciate my folks. Man, where is that carpenter square? There we go. I like expensive tools. Now I'm on the algorithm on Instagram, and I'm starting to get like, you know, like dreamy eyes when I see these tools and Woodwork magazine and all these cute things. But idea here is a ball on a budget, you know. It's the whole concept of Dad's Workshop. Readily available materials, affordable materials, and quality stuff. I am going to think about engraving more, carving. I was reading this bit from Fine Furniture. It's like a book that was made at the turn of the century. Really great book. I think it was kind of made by the arts and crafts people, which I love that movement. Um, I don't think I've ever owned a miter saw. I did go to a timber framer that told me, he's like, you can do everything with a circular saw. You just have to go super, super slow. Now, maybe that works for him, but I feel like, and this guy, I picked his brain. He was a good timber framer, taught it at this community college in Fluvanna. Kids basically they built him another house next to his house that has, I don't know if you all know what these are, but hammer beams. If you're familiar with what hammer beams are, uh, they are basically the height of Western um, timber framing. They allow you to have the tallest unimpeded space above you by distributing the weight to the frame, the rigidity of the frame. So hammer beams. He has a new structure. Well, he had a new structure on his property with hammer beams. I love hammer beams. So I caught that right away. I was there to like actually salvage bricks. Now these dovetails actually don't have to be perfect because each mortise is laid out for each individual dovetail. It looks like this one seems to be set off to the right, here a little bit. I'm not going to try to mess with that because I got my angle straight. That's what's most important to me. We're going to shade these spots. This is where the waste comes off. It has been so hot. I'm so thankful that today is a little less so. It's still hot, but not like it was, you know? Oh yeah, no. Saws are pretty awesome. Here we go. Well, let me shade the back here, just a little ASMR, a little shading with the pencil. Shading with the pencil. I wonder where you were at, Wes. Yeah, Georgia. I bet it's been hot down there. We're here in North Carolina. Two states upstairs from you. A little bit off that shoulder there. That's all right. I could clean that up. Do that with a chisel. Now I could rip saw this and I could use my bandsaw, but since I'm on live, I like to do stuff with hand tools. This is the way that the Nordic people built their boats. A lot of their curves, in the old Viking boats were either natural in the tree when they made them, right? So they picked curved timbers, which are called reaction wood. So it's actually kind of tricky to work with. Or they cut their curves by using large rip saws, or the most common way was to cross cut and then chisel. Large framing chisels like this timber slick here, things like that. And then the Vikings early on would have done a lot of their joinery. The tightening of the wood would have been done with ropes, hempen ropes usually. Yeah, I watched a video of these historical Japanese building being restored, and the porch, and they were putting the beams on. Obviously, the grain was so straight and perfect, but all the other stuff I noticed was the precision with the direction they cut, with how they observed the grain direction. Pretty amazing. Every time I do these, I really like it. It's like a test of my chisel angle. Yeah. I need to get like a new scroll saw. I'd like to have a scroll saw to cut bone inlays. You know, I watched this Chinese carpenter cut these bone inlays. Crazy video, man. Should have put it up on my Discord. I did say yesterday I have noticed that with the hot days that my kiln dried conventional lumber has already started to over dry, and so I'm getting much more blowout and cracking when I'm going grain wise. This is actually not a bad 2x4 right here. No, there's a few knots. I know the other side of this had I had a piece like this had no knots. I was working on yesterday. Really surprised to see it blow out and break away. But I thought about the heat and how that can actually just, that kind of heat, man, you know. I think Mike was talking some about that. He's in West Texas. Like my brakes are off on my bench. Welcome to Dad's Workshop. Yeah, I took shop class, but and loved it. We did stuff like we did maglev cars. That was one of the things I liked the most, actually. We did little bits of woodworking there. We had great bandsaws in there. I remember that. I bet they don't even have that class anymore. All the requirements, I don't know what you would call the didactic nature of schools, the rigid nature of the curriculum now makes it so that kids don't get any kind of vocational training of any sort. It's sad, in my opinion. Some kids want to work with their hands. They don't want to go to college. And if they do go to college, they'll probably make less money and be less happy than they would be if they worked with their hands. Right? So getting rid of vocational skills and vocational training and vocational education really stupid. At the very least, you still need people to work on your cars, am I right? That is true. Though there's a lot of study that shows up my internet. Let me go check my internet box. A lot of studies showing that you're better, you learn better in a hands-on situation or by a book than you do watching videos. Though I am a YouTuber, so I definitely am a fan. Let me move this over here. That's a little better. Hopefully that improves. It is. There is a lot of YouTube, a lot of information. Information is one direction a kid can go on the internet. The other direction is entertainment and communication. Seems like these kids go quicker for the communication and entertainment route, and they don't see the informational route unless like they're on the line. They have to do a paper, something like that. I certainly need a little bit of accountability, someone to check my work a little bit when I'm learning something. I think. I mean, I learn better that way. Otherwise, somebody will eventually check it in the way you don't want to be checked. Well, that's not what I was looking for. When I was a kid, I told my parents I wanted to earn some money. I was going to go to the rich neighborhood and wash people's cars. My mom says, yeah, you think, wouldn't you? But she said, rich people are very particular about how their cars are washed. And they might not tell you until you're done with it. Don't set your towel on the ground. That's a pretty difficult request. Am I right? Make sure you click that like to double tap the screen and like my video if you're here hanging out. Subscribe to the channel too. I was a little sloppy with my first chisel there, unfortunately. Like I said though, these are tailor made for each joint, or I tailor make a mortise for them, so it's not a big deal if they're not perfect. But I try to get them as close to perfect as I can. I need to be a little more careful. Yeah. I just said I was successful. Let me go back a second. Yes, Chardonnay is right. If you're jonesing for a Calvin shaped emoji sticker, you have to join the channel. Watch out now. I'm gonna make a video what Shar did with this thing. It's pretty amazing. It's like key ring thing she made. I don't want to say too much. It'll come out in the short. Ooh, I love this chisel right now. I got this one perfect. I don't even have to touch the wood hardly. It bites right in there. Let me tell you, folks, that may be the sharpest chisel I've ever held in my hands. You do get better at this stuff. Hot knife through butter. It's right on that line. I'm going to keep it there. Make a wide step connection to the post when going around U-turn. Elaborate on that. Sure, the chat would really love to know that too. These are folks that like information. Make a wide step connection to the post when going around U-turn. Me too. This is my razor. The rib shelf that you made, so above my level, way above my head. But you know, maybe I'll get there someday. I know you're there. I'm coming for you. I'm coming to meet you there. This may take me a while. I don't like that. Pelado, though, shout out to all my folks that are in here. I want to make sure I let everybody know. Shout out to you. Appreciate you being here. Number one, Chardonnay and Dane, my members, my friends. Shout out to Miss Heather, who's out there somewhere in the world. Yeah, I like that too. That is correct. I like that stuff. Sometimes it makes brain hurty. Trying to figure out these Alaskan sawmills. I'm like I bet it's real simple. It's like basically a jig, but it had me a little bit thrown the other day. Like, what do you do with that? Use the side so I can cut another 45 and 3/4 inch board. I've got almost all my ribs laid out for the the tines or whatever for the top bunk. And then I have to lay out the ones for the bottom. I'm only gonna do like dovetails on the front. Well, I don't know. I might just do them all dovetail. Why not? Why not? Thank you, Lexus. Appreciate that. Oh, I do want to show. I want to do a show and tell thing real quick. I got these pieces of sassafras that I used years ago, and they got hit by the rain a little bit, but I think they're still okay. There's some thinner slabs. This is like old growth or older growth sassafras right here. See, it's kind of cut, but I want to find something to do with this. These sassafras boards. It may be that floating table. I've got one or two more pieces, and I got a piece of curly maple down there that I could use too. Yeah. Yeah. Well, definitely. I never even cited these. They were sent to me too from a Sawyer, so I never even got to cite them before I got them. Didn't know what I was doing. I got these boards over 10 years ago. Built the table out of them, deconstructed the table, and took the boards back because I wasn't going to throw them away. I got a maple here somewhere. I don't know where the heck I put it though. somewhere around here, a piece of curly. Oh yeah, that I'll probably use in conjunction with that. That's more like just regular short silver maple or something. And then a little bit thinner, longer slab here of sassafras with a little bark edge on it. I find it's not a bad wood to work with. It reminds me a little bit of chestnut, actually. I wouldn't mean, I actually can't confirm it's not chestnut. I had a bunch of chestnut boards too. Oh, it is definitely hardwood. Yeah, it's not a conifer. It's either it's old chestnut, like wormy chestnut that I have. I only have a few pieces of that left. It's American chestnut, or it is sassafras, and it's labeled. Most of it's labeled. Yeah, with a plunge router. Yeah, my router is a plunge router. I know Mike made a plunge router on his live the other day. Shout out Mike, wherever you are. Here we go with another piece of conventional Douglas fir. Not too bad though, not really a lot of imperfections, just a couple little knots. What I like to do is use the straight edge if I'm hand cutting it. So if I'm going to take a 45-inch section, I'm going to measure from both edges just to make sure that the factory cuts are, I'm getting the benefit of those factory cuts. Each tine is 45 3/4. Less kerf with a handsaw, well, with these kind of hand saws, I think too. So there is a couple of little benefits to, excuse me, that was done. A couple little benefits to using hand saws. Must be an optical illusion. It doesn't look straight. Monica Carrillo. Welcome, Monica Carrillo, to Dad's Workshop. Unless you want me to say Carrillo, but you got the double L, so I figured it's Carrillo, right? So as y'all saw me do last time, I'm going to do 45 3/4 from the other direction. Hold on. Which mark is it? Two different marks here. Okay. Shout out Laxa, shout out Billy and Chardonnay, Monica, new folks. Shout out anybody else who I'm back here, Pelado and Wes, who's probably on about his business. Wes is a mover and a shaker. Even on his lives, he just when he's done, he rolls out. I actually respect the mess out of that. That old Irish goodbye. Ever give someone an Irish goodbye? It's not polite. Don't do it. Chardonnay, you know what Irish goodbye is? Don't Google it. I gotta go back to see what you all are talking about. Yeah, I don't care for routers. I have one router. I rarely use it. I just hate routers. I know I have to use them. I built that one router jig for the video. What a mess. Throwing stuff in your face. Just a brutal tool, man. I do want a chain mortizer though, for sure. And a real skill saw. Two things I want. Chain mortizer and a skill saw. Yeah. Yeah. You can't even, you got to wear goggles that cover the bottom of your eyes. It goes up under there. Especially if you have a good sharp bit, you know. My bit's probably old and crappy, and I have a Black & Decker router, so it's like the lowest end router you can get. Cross-cutting side, y'all know cross-cutting, rip cutting, right? Ooh, I'm missing that line right now. Yeah, I'm way off the line. I have to square that line up a little bit. That's all right, though. The next one I'll do a little slower. Maybe I was trying to show off a little too much there. Yeah, here's my Makita tool right here. Right? This is my Makita tool. Really proud of this. This is my beam saw. Notice it has dust on it because it gets a lot of work. 16 and 5/16 inches beam saw. No joke. Love that thing. Like Bosch tools too. Mm-hmm. Now you want to re-angle one of these saws, you got to tilt it. I need my glasses. I'm too old and blind. I think I'm gonna miss this cut. We'll just try to wing it. Oh no, that's on. That's fine. Nope. No splits. Not in Splitsville. I saw the Japanese carpenter. He just puts his hand under it. Pelato, take care. Puts his hand under it, and generally that works. You can kind of see the grain on this is away from the heart, right? You know all this stuff. But the grain's away from the heart. This board is going to have less movement. I mean, there are still some knots and imperfections, but the fact that it's cut away from the heartwood makes it more ideal for any kind of woodwork. Appreciate everyone being here at Dad's Workshop. And double tap the screen. Of course, if you are a person of means and would like to join our family, there we have memberships that we just opened, and we would be happy to have you as a member. Shout you out. We'll shout you out anyway. You come in here, we'll shout you out if you're new, because we love new people. Lord Alcatraz. I'm all right, man. I don't have too much heavy stuff up here. Appreciate your concern though for my safety. Doesn't mean nothing. I mean, like it's not nothing to be concerned. Appreciate you. Crocs provide a little bit of protection though. Maybe it'll bounce off. When I have 4x8 beams up here, or 8x8s, or like 12x12s, then I'll probably wear boots. But it's hot. I had shoes on a little bit ago. Jumped in the shower, took them off. Yeah, I like that too. You'll see a few of those folks. We got a community here. Even if it is safety trolling, you know. Oh, you guess you could let that slide? Well, I'm so glad you could do that, Lord Alcatraz. Or you could get on a live and I could criticize what you wear. How about that? But it's all right. I'm cool with who I am and what I do. You know. Yeah, I'm not worried about it. These 2x4s I'm working with right now, Lord Alcatraz, if you're still here, are not going to harm me. It might give me a little bruise, a little boo boo on my toey. I'll be all right. I have to compromise between heat and comfort. Imagine you're in front of 1,000 people who are going to criticize everything you do. You want to be comfortable, right? You want to be safe, of course, but you want to be comfortable. Of course, most people can't imagine that because they would never do that. That involves putting yourself out there and being vulnerable. The right community of folks will build itself. If you build it, they will come. I do watch a lot of. I watch Appalachian Homestead. They have a lot of safety trolls on their channel. So I see that a lot, and apparently they just embrace them. You know, what do you mean? What are you talking about? And then I've seen some of my friends on here, their videos getting criticized for their putting the hands close to the saw. There's always safety stuff you can do differently. Woodworking it's a labyrinth. It's a gauntlet of safety issues. Yeah, man, definitely done that. I was building a greenhouse out of recycled windows. I timber framed a greenhouse and then used recycled windows and just put basically like headers in, right? And then timber framed the outside of it. And I was pulling out the wiring from the inside and the cable snapped and the wire recoiled at the pressure that the spring was spring loaded and it cut. I mean, that was one of the more painful cuts I've ever had. Uh, it was a cable that cut me at speed. Very painful. Very painful. More painful than when I almost cut my finger off with a handsaw. I also had about 100 or 200, between 100 and 200 kids in a woodshop class at school that I taught over the summer that all successfully used a bandsaw. No one got injured. Everybody learned to do it the right way, had their safety equipment on. So, and they kept their fingers away from the business end of the saw, which is really the key with a lot of this stuff. You want to keep your fingers away from the business end if possible. Somebody put a comment on one of my videos that said, "You use your finger to stabilize the saw." I was like, "Yep, of course I do." Yeah, it was the cable inside the window. I don't know what it did. Maybe it held the sash or something, but I was undoing it because I needed to drill into that area, and the cable snapped. There was a sharp piece of metal on the end of it, almost like a chad on the end of the cable. That came back very fast. cut through a series of my fingers. And it was just the way it did. It was so painful. It was like getting snapped with a cat of nine tails, is what I imagine, on your hand. I screamed audibly. Everybody in the neighborhood would have heard it. Yeah, well, it was frayed, but the little sharp, cheap piece of metal on the end also snapped down and was sharp on all the edges. So you know how like a cat of nine tails has these sharp pieces of metal that bite into the skin when it snaps in? That's what it felt like. We have a knot on the other side. It's going to cause a few problems. Yes, with my bench and the way this vise is, the vise is kind of set up for visibility. I no longer do most of my stuff seated. So yeah, and definitely with a Roman style workbench, as Vitaly was talking about the other day. I was a little off on that shoulder there. I'm gonna have to cut that shoulder with the chisel. A lot of Japanese, Chinese woodwork and like the Roman workbench was like a seated workbench where the body is used to hold the workpieces steady. Also saw a quadriplegic woodworker on Instagram yesterday. His hands are literally like I mean he has hands, but he pushes like this. All he can do is move his shoulders. Can't move his legs. So he has decent equipment too. Some of y'all probably know who I'm talking about. This guy is quadriplegic woodworker. What I saw was an Instagram reel where he's building his dad a in-grain walnut um, cutting board. I would generally say that it's kind of surprising to me that someone considers themselves a professional woodworker and only makes cutting boards. But in the case of somebody who is quadriplegic, I kind of understand, I think you have to have a little bit more in your wood vocabulary than cutting boards, which are pretty much, it's like stopping at the bunny slopes for most people. We had a solid chat about YouTube economics yesterday that I felt like was getting somewhere. I noticed some real crazy stuff today when going through my YouTube studio. So if you're interested in that stuff, we do talk about that occasionally. Not saying that I don't want you to subscribe to the channel for YouTube monetization content, because I'm not going to do that a lot of the time, but definitely stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel for if you like the way that Calvin does Dad's Workshop wood stuff. That's what I want you to subscribe to. If you like my vibe, subscribe to the channel. If you really like my vibe, join, become a member. We're a growing family of like-minded individuals. Yes, that's it. I make handmade woodwork with hands that don't work. That's what he says. That you're right, Chardonnay. That's exactly what um his slogan is. It's a catchy slogan. He's kind of stretching to say he's a quadriplegic though, because he can move his arms and shoulders, and I don't know if that qualifies, but I'm not going for time. So I have nothing I can say. Um, that was a good cut. Alexa said I was asked to make a balcony door catch, so I did a small wooden piece of L for the handle um, slot into, and that was it. Well, I learned recently and painfully that social media can be used to bend the truth. Oh, yeah. That's an understatement. Okay. That sucks. All right. So Laxus, I'm going to summarize what you just said. Laxus built a yeah, that's ain't that the way, bud. You know, I actually had some stuff like that happen in college, and definitely that's happened with songwriting. So I've written music before and copyrighted music, and then sold it to people. That didn't bother me. If they said it was theirs after I sold them the copyright, I had no problem. But if they said it was theirs while I was still the owner of the copyright, or they misrepresented the beat, or did a show and didn't shout me out in the show and use my music, it frustrated me badly. Oh, Vitali, what's up? Shout out Vitali, big time friend of the program, Vitali. Vitali from Ireland. Shout out Vitali. What's good, Vitali? I watched that Conan O'Brien, Conan Must Go episode where he goes to Ireland, and some of the slang was pretty funny. How goes it on the emerald isle there, Vitaly? Vitaly says, was making a wish list of woodworking tools for my birthday and now popped in to say hello. Appreciate you being here, Vitaly. We always love to see you in here. I know it's tough for you to make the live streams at the times that I do them. I'm gonna consider doing more daytime stuff unless it is nighttime where I'm competing with the big dogs and it's hot. A lot of reasons to do daytime. See, that's what I'm talking about. Breakaway like that right there, that messes the whole look of the dovetail up. Just to lose that little piece. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad. That's exactly what this is for, man. Inspire. And you do a lot of work already, but it's a little, you do the more mathematic and like precision cutting with tools. Maybe if I can inspire you to go pick some hand tools up and like brush up on your hand tool stuff. Not that you're not better at that than me either. I don't want anyone to think that I'm arrogant about this thing. I am a self-taught person. Well, I had some guidance, but I'm generally self-taught. Yeah, Laxus. Um, it's fun, man. If you have sharp tools. If it's not, if your tools aren't sharp and they're dull, it can be really frustrating. 5-minute dovetail, right? That's one of the warm-ups for woodworkers. Make a box, get like 1x3s and make a 12-inch by 12 box with a single dovetail at each corner and try to do each dovetail like in 5 minutes. Cut the pin and the tail in 5 minutes. And then if you can't do that, then go back and like add time. It's not really about speed, but it kind of gets your mind ready for like uh, if there is such a thing, batch production by hand. Like you're like here, I have to make all these rungs and I'm doing them all by hand. So having some little shortcuts certainly doesn't hurt. We don't want to do things fast necessarily, but yeah. Oh yeah, Vitaly. By the way, I was just talking about your Roman workbench. Someone asked, "Can you sit down and do woodwork?" And I brought up the Roman workbench. Part of my approach to anything I build is Japanese joinery, which are more. It's more about um, how mortise and tenon joinery meet. There's less triangles in Japanese joinery. We had this conversation the other day. The Japanese use less triangles because they're well. I looked at the structure of the what is that? The oldest temple in Japan. And it's going to be hard for me to like demonstrate what they use, but the Japanese, instead of hammer beams, they had a series of members that would overhang and then be joined to each other with like different splines and um, mortises and tenons on the bottom of the large members, the way you never see in Western joinery. Um, SMWC Poker, welcome. Thank you for the subscription. They basically made hammer beam structures by stacking wood on top, and then there were splines added. That ancient temple in Japan is built just like that. All of the let's call them cantilevered sections or sections that overhang are all basically there's not much triangular bracing which you would definitely have seen in Europe 1,000 years ago. Lots of triangles, lots of short members, structural members. Just look at like timber frame row in Germany, something like that. But yeah, great question, Vitaly. I was just looking at Japanese joinery today, studying. So absolutely, I'm always looking at it. When I was at the urgent care trying to get medicine for this throat, I was reading about Japanese joinery. I continue to be impressed by what the Japanese um, precision mindset is. That the mindset of intricacy. It's not a bad mindset to have. Now these shoulders, really, you all have not seen me clean these up very much. But before I put these in, you really want to clean the cheeks and the shoulders of these. Make sure that they're all square. Let's move this closer to the fulcrum here. Flipping the chisel upside down if you're not trying to get as much. Just kind of trying to use it like a plane. You all hear me say the same stuff over and over again. Yeah, yeah. I'm considering making a Roman workbench. I do think that having one. I watched one dude who had one that had basically you put dogs in the bench like dog holes so that you can run through dogs, and then what you do is press the work between yourself and the dog, and so you are supporting the workpiece with your body rather than having clamps. Though Wes, who's not here anymore but was in earlier, Wes has a Roman workbench on his live stream. Shout out Wes. I'm sure you've probably been there at least once, Vitaly. African American gentleman, and then when I say gentleman, he is a gentleman. He has a Roman workbench, and it is really cool with side joint 2x4s. So I was like, that's up my alley, right? Oh, hey, Wes. So Wes has a Roman workbench. If he wants to talk about it now, he could probably tell you a little bit about his workbench. Also, he could talk about it in his live, but Wes doesn't do a whole lot of talking on his live, mostly working. So Wes, tell Vitaly about. Vitaly asked me about Roman workbenches. I went to your live stream and I saw your Roman workbench, and I was like, oh, there's one right there. I'd never seen one before. Maybe you could tell him a little bit about that, or not, or just Vitaly. You can check his stuff out. Subscribe to him. Wes has a lot of good stuff, man. Really entertaining woodworker to watch. So I'm gonna wrap it up for today, guys. How long I've been on here? I've been on here for an hour. I definitely have. Just trying to get my hour in. Oh, I thought you would have known. I thought you would have known it was a Roman workbench. But yeah, it's a seated bench. He has clamps on. That's what I was getting to, man. I always run way off topic, but he has clamps on his workbench from the side. Sometimes what I was looking at in the video is almost like mine, 2x4s with dog holes through it. If you do that, that also works. But we'll probably try to put one together on here. Yeah, it's called a Roman workbench. And when you sit at it, after Vitaly talked about it, I studied it for a bit. And then I looked at all the different. I think if I had little tiny legs on mine, I'd break the legs off. And I just would be afraid that I would bust that thing up like that. So I probably have to put like a serious set of legs, or use this thing right here. I got this tenon cutter right here. It's kind of like a it cuts cone-shaped tenons, and then you just double 2x6s. Yeah, I couldn't tell if they were 2x4s or 2x6s. Yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. So you probably get a subscription from Fatality. He's a really good. He's a great person to have watch your videos. This thing cuts tenons in the shape of a pencil with a pencil lead, basically. And all you do is take a Forstner bit of about an inch and cut a Forstner bit hole. And then you put, it's basically really quick mortise and tenon. So I would probably use this to make a Roman bench, put several legs in it. And then I'm missing a blade on here, I can see. And that would be it. Just make sure that it's heavy duty enough to handle being pounded on, you know. Benches got to take some abuse. Some of these like frilly little benches you see on American Wood Shop and stuff. That's why I like watching Wes's channel, because like his stuff looks worked on. I don't like looking at a bench that looks like it's just been polished and nobody's ever done any real work on it. Sorry, that's just how I am, you know. I'm sure you could make the legs collapsible. That you know, Laxus, you probably could do that with, well, hinges, less hinges than some sort of a system where you have a prop out leg, right? Something like that. There's probably a means to creating a bench where you have um, a way to hold the legs up, a bracing system. Yeah. Hinges have a way of, if any kind of stress goes on a hinge, right? You put any kind of racking stress on a hinge, flop, it's done. Like if you ever try to set something up on hinges, yeah, yeah. Laxa said a pin lock where you can pull up. That sounds good there. Um, yeah, and Wes does. You know, he uses a large mallet and hits his bench with some force. So his 2x6s, side joint 2x6s, I was like, man, this man is this is what do you call it? Um, when somebody just like, when I saw him with his side joint 2x6s, I was like, man, this is straight from this is to my heart right here. This catches me at the core, because I love simple, cheap construction that you can build on. I love it. Yes, that makes sense. Laxa said, so when the pressure is put on top, the leg is locked securely. Go straight through, glued in with the top as I stack. Yeah, and I think I did that with these too. On these, I've got a gap, just a 2x4 wide. I also doweled through them and screwed them too to make sure that they were extra secure. But yeah, you can see that your bench is sturdy. There's no doubt. It's visually sturdy. Some things like overbuilt, it gives people a little bit of extra security when they're on it. I've built a number of things early on that were underbuilt. I built a waterfall table out of a black walnut slab, and I put a through trestle on it that was like this thin, like 3/4 of an inch thin. And I was like, man, this was not a secure way to build this table. So then I had to go back and re-engineer the table. That I want to show you all this chainsaw before I roll out. I forgot about that. And I'm not paid by this company, God forbid, because I didn't have a perfect experience with them either. So don't take this as me promoting the company, but I do want to say there is ways to get things that you want for a fraction of the price. And I'm not saying this company is super good, especially if you don't know motors, they're a little tricky. So here's a chainsaw. It's a 93cc chainsaw. I'm going to go grab another chainsaw that I can put a side-by-side with it so you can see the size and get an idea of the scope. It's a big boy. Can y'all still hear me? Probably not. I'm running about 25 yards to the house. stuff here. Move my other stuff. Here we have a 93cc chainsaw that I got on Amazon. This right here, I haven't started this one yet. I don't think I'm gonna have a problem, but I'm doing my microphone. Oh, there it is. Show and tell right now. All right, just to give you a frame of comparison here. This is a 50.3cc Husqvarna 450 Rancher. It's actually one of the bigger residential chainsaws you can get. Let's put those up next to each other. You kind of see a size difference. I love Husqvarna. A lot of people are like steel people, or what's the other company that somebody showed me the other day? Pilato has one of their saws. This right here, this is pretty much like, it's kind of hard to get an angle. I got to get a better angle than that. You can see this one here, the body is much significantly bigger, right? You can see the sprocket cover on that, this is kind of a new sprocket cover for Husqvarna. This one here, this is not Husqvarna. This is Holtz Forma. It is a dupe. It is not a Husqvarna at all, but it's made with all the same parts because they stole the intellectual property from them and just ran with it. This chainsaw here, 50.3 cc's. This chainsaw here, 93 cc's. Okay, 93. I've never even held a chainsaw or worked a chainsaw with that kind of power. And they don't even sell them really anymore. It's modeled after the Husqvarna 395 XP, which was a chainsaw, kind of a commercial chainsaw. But if anybody hazards a guess, which one cost more? The question is, which saw, and I have a video coming out about this, so I'm going to go through side by side the whole drama, because I had to send one of these back. Which saw costs more? This 93cc chainsaw with a 24-inch bar, or this little Husqvarna chainsaw, and I say little, it's not a little saw, with a 50.3cc engine. Yeah, a lot of people are steel people. Truth is, this saw right here was over $500 turnkey with the blade, with the chain and everything in it. So it's idiot proof, right? $520 some with tax, right? Husqvarna 50 for almost double the cc's right here. You could mill wood with this saw right here if you can get it, if it's not crap. I was a little concerned that you get what you pay for when I got it. But this chainsaw right here and the bar and 3 chains. I got them from different companies, from this Japanese company here, and this Holtz Forma it's a Chinese intellectual dupe, basically a smuggled chainsaw is what it is. $345 for double the saw, double the power, right? And this is almost double the price. And so this is why you always, let the buyer beware, of course, but always shop around, know your specs and stuff like that, because we're going to talk about these things. I could probably mill wood with this one, right? But you can definitely get this bad boy to run. You can definitely mill wood with this one. And if you have a 395 XP, you can also use the parts. So I wanted to talk a second about my little chainsaw experience. I'm going to start milling wood here soon. Probably. Now, but let me say this, Laxus, it's only the name, though. Because the parts, I've read blogs and stuff where people said that they took apart the saw and that some of the components were actually higher quality than the Husqvarna component based on the metal composition, etc. So it's actually the same saw. It's hard to kind of explain. It's the twin. The only reason it wouldn't work would be if Husqvarna's saw had a problem, right? or if there's, and there is some issues with this. You'll notice this saw here has a primer and a full choke, half choke, right? We have full choke and half choke on this, no primer. We have this compression button on here, really weird, something I'm familiar with. I like to have a primer button. Yeah. Yes, so I believe that this they outsourced their building to China and someone stole their intellectual property, rebuilt the saw with a fake name. That's what they have. Vitaly, thank you so much. Pint of Guinness. I will take a pint of Guinness on you. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate that. Vitaly. Also, just join too, or I'll buy, I might have to just buy you a membership. Sorry, I wasn't talking in the mic. Shout out Vitaly, longtime friend of the program. We love you. We appreciate you. Definitely, definitely, definitely. Vitaly's great. So yeah, talking chainsaws. They outsourced. Husqvarna's problem was they outsourced their labor to China at some point, and then there was a smart person over there who picked it up, uh, documented all the parts, and then they like remanufactured all of the parts. It's the same exact saw. So if you don't want that to happen, I guess, make it in house. Don't try to do it for super cheap. I mean, there is a lesson to be learned in that. What I'm saying, Laxus, is that there really is no essential difference between this saw and the Husqvarna. Like, that's the problem. They don't make the 395 XP anymore, so they don't make this saw anymore. You can get it if you go to a garden. I've tried to get it for years. I just never quite had the money, or I just wasn't in a space to get it. Farm and lawn service over in Emporia, where I used to live, they used to have. They offered me one that they could order for me, a real 395 XP, $1,400. Okay, this saw right here is a $1,500 saw if it says Husqvarna on it. Yeah, yeah. If it says Husqvarna on it, it becomes a $1,500 saw. Right now, as constituted with the Holtza Forma fake label on it, $350 with the barn chain on it. This saw right here, this says Husqvarna on it. You're paying an extra $300 for that name. Is what you're doing, just in my opinion. Now, I have had a few issues with this, and that will be documented in my video. Don't go run and buy a dupe if you don't know small motors. If you don't understand small engines, please don't go buy. There's also a company called like Farmer Tech that's a dupe of steel. It makes dupe steel saws. So there's other dupe companies. I'm sure there's one for like Case or like Craftsman too. They have these separate fake companies. They're basically like shell companies that don't really exist. They come up with a name. It looks kind of like the original name, and that's what they run with. Man, I appreciate everybody being here too. Yeah, yeah. Over there in Europe, you guys are okay with that, but here in the States, we like our chainsaws to go. When we rev them up, this is what we like. We like it to go. That's what we want. That's the sound we want, right? Don't get an electric one. Get one that runs on petrol. Get one that runs on petrol, Vitaly, as you say over there. Get you a pint of petrol and fill it up. This right here is actually a lot of fuel and a lot of bar oil. This one here, yeah, I might even take this one back to the store because I don't want it anymore. But you're right. I got to go with Laxus. I mean, it's true. I was super skeptical. I have a whole drama that went down with me and the distributor saw. And when I say the distributor of the saw, I mean John Jones from Southern California. That's the distributor of these saws. There is an individual guy who has imported a bunch of these smuggled saws, basically like intellectually stolen saws, and he sells them out of his house. I mean, he knows what he's doing. He tests them because when I get them, they smell like gas. So I know they've been tested. Yeah. Well, I definitely, I don't, you know what? When I get a new saw, I don't even mix the fuel myself. I just buy the pre-mixed stuff because you make a mistake with your mixture, you screw the saw up. Also, don't ever run a chainsaw without a load when you start it. Try to get the bar and chain on it. After a while, you can run a chainsaw with no chain. You see them at like, what you call it? Uh, scary haunted houses where they run their chainsaw with no chain. Those are used chainsaws, so the motor is broken in. But chainsaw motors, little known fact, you are not supposed to run. I forget. I'll put it up. It'll be on my video. The name of the guy. I'll blurt it out. Like I'll put his first name on there. He sent me angry emails telling me how to troubleshoot the last motor on the last one. This one started in 2 pulls, no problem. I also was super careful because this saw has a tendency to flood when it's on its side. So I was like not playing around. Yeah, so Laxus, like there's a dupe steel company too. So this is Holtz Forma, the dupe steel company that makes the MS660 dupe. Like the MS660 is the most powerful steel that I can think of. And that MS660 has a dupe that's on Amazon for approximately the same price as this one is. You know, they're both about the same saw. Yeah. Yeah, that's really bad. Yeah, all I would say, I'm doing the work for you. Wait until I do my video before you make any. Hold on, my back. Wait until I do the video. Check the video out before you buy a chainsaw. If I actually needed these, but I also want to rip cut and mill wood. So I got these 2 chainsaws to do a side-by-side comparison for my channel and my folks so they can make an educated guess and save a bunch of money. This is 1/5 of the price of the equivalent Husqvarna saw. So I'm not paid by them at all. I have to tell you that, or I can be banned and demonetized. They are not paying me at all. I'm telling you, my experience is mixed right now, but you'll see all in the video. I love you all. Laxus, appreciate you. Chardonnay, Vitali, join also, man. Become a member. Chardonnay and Daniel, who we didn't have in here tonight, are both members, and I'd love to have you as a member. Oh, I didn't see Raja was here. Apologize, Raja, if you're still around. Wes, love having Wes in the house. Love being in Wes's live stream too. I didn't see Mike tonight. I don't want to talk about people I didn't see. Who do we have? Who do we have? I'm missing Billy. Of course, Billy. Billy was the first one in tonight. I didn't see Ruiz tonight either. So mostly it was Laxus, Vitali, Chardonnay, Wes, and Billy. Raja popped through. And appreciate all y'all. Love y'all, man. I couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much for coming through, man. Especially y'all, Wes. Yeah, appreciate you, Wes. Yeah, everybody check Wes's channel out. He is an entertaining YouTuber, straight up. Just he knows what he's doing. His last video is very artful. Y'all have a great evening. Have a great weekend. See y'all later.